Hello, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. My name is Jordan Drummond. I'm the guy that runs BBZ Poker, and the fact that you've clicked on this video means that in some capacity you're trying to get better at No Limit Hold'em, and I really appreciate that you've trusted me to try to help you do that. This video was taken from one of our free seminars that takes place every Monday morning in the BBZ Poker Discord, okay? And it focuses on one of the bread and butter scenarios of the game, big blind versus button. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you have any questions at all about what you see in this video, please post in the YouTube comment section. So thanks very much and enjoy the video. We are looking at kind of a range of spots. Actually, there's a couple spots in here, and we're just drilling. And the reason we're drilling is because I'm going to be playing a 25K at the end of the month. I'm going to go to the Bahamas, play the 25K PSPC. That's the plan. So I'm just going to start studying some deep spots for myself. So with that, you guys can go ahead and kick this off. What do you guys want to do when you see a flop like this? We have 3-bet the big blind. All of these hands will take place in the big blind. We'll be playing against either the button or the cutoff. And yeah, you're up. We 3-bet the big blind versus the button called. Flops queen 8 deuce rainbow. I'm probably gonna bet a quarter. I think half pot's probably not without merit, but I'm probably just gonna be mostly betting. We bet, we got raised. So in case you're having a difficult time following the action. So now what should we do? Okay, looks like also you want to call. I imagine calls the play. There might be some fold percentage, but I would imagine calls the play. No fold percentage, and call is the line. So let's go ahead and take a look at this flop. So let's go here, take a look at what the flop strategy looks like. So there's some checking on this board. There's actually a lot of checking on this board. There's more checking than I thought that this board was going to contain, to be honest with you. And that's interesting because I thought the boards with a deuce on them had higher frequency bets. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at all these different boards and maybe just see what some of this looks like. So the boards that have higher frequency bet are actually queen 8-7 and queen 8-6, so I was wrong. So there's queen 8 deuce rainbow, so it's pretty close. I thought that this board would be one of the ones that was higher frequency bet within this queen 8 X block. That's not totally unreasonable, but it's not right either. I mean, queen 8-7 is a very high frequency bet, queen 8-6. The boards that really slow down, I also did take into account the fact that this was a rainbow texture. I do think that the fact that it's two-tone has basically a deleterious impact on your c-bet percentage. So if it was two-tone, it would have a deleterious impact on your c-bet percentage. You're looking to bet more on rainbow flops, bet less on two-tone textures, bet less on monotone textures. So the fact that it was rainbow helps us to bet more. And let me just see. So what we're doing now is we're just organizing this. We're looking at the boards that are bet the most, and we're just paying attention to which ones those are, and then we're going to invert this. Look at the boards that are bet the least. Yeah, so that dangler is not super helpful. You can see that the monotone textures, two-tone textures, right? So when the boards are rainbow, we end up betting quite a lot more. All of these highest frequency check variations are either monotone or two-tone textures. Right, and if we go like this again, all of the highest frequency board textures for bet are the rainbow ones, right? So the fact that it was rainbow is correlating pretty heavily. I'm not really seeing much else. You're seeing a lot of these boards, both queen 9-3 two-tone, and then queen 9 deuce rainbow. So I think the thing that matters the most is the fact that this was a rainbow board texture. I think that's the way that I'm looking at this now. Let's keep going. You're up. What do you guys want to do? I'd probably check, but I do think the lead is small enough that you could consider leading. I mean, you can't lead to 40% or anything, but I don't think it's stupid to consider leading to a 10% size. When you bet call the flop, your range ends up being relatively dense bluff catchers and things. So this card's quite good for you. So I don't hate this as an answer, but I would probably check. Yeah. So I'm not surprised this answer was quite competitive with check. So I think the scenario is reasonable to lead. Yeah, this scenario has a bunch of leading. So again, it's because the bet size is so small. So because the bet size is 15%, your range is so dense medium strength hands that when this is the card, and your opponent's range is polar, this really small bet actually probably gets a relatively high frequency fold percentage, even though that's maybe counterintuitive. But if you bet really small here and you look at the fold percentage for in position, let's go like this. So we'd expect something like a 13% fold percentage. Our opponent's in position, so we might even expect less than that. But we're actually getting an 18.5% fold percentage, and that's because I think your opponent's range is polar when they raise the flop. So because your opponent's range is polar when they raise the flop, it's actually quite difficult for them to defend hands like this, like hands like 5-3 with no backdoors, 6-5. Like they can't just, they can't just flick these hands in, right? Now it does raise some of them sometimes, but a lot of these hands are just very difficult hands to defend, and these are a lot of hands that are pretty logical flop raises, and a lot of this range just gets counterfeit on this type of a turn. So anyways, with the lead being so small, I do think that the lead is more competitive than a lot of you guys were giving it credit for. Okay, so we have the lead as an option. Check's very reasonable. Get to the river. You guys are up. What do you guys want to do? Okay. I'm going to bet, and I do think it's competitive between like betting 21 and betting. Yeah, I think betting 21 is like the most competitive answer, so I'm just going to go like this. Yeah, I mean, like this answer is like somewhat competitive, but bet 21 is just the best play, I think. I think it's going to be the best play in game as well. So for people that are trying to understand what's going on, if you check this hand, it doesn't really work. Why doesn't it work? Because you beat all of his players' like showdown value-ish, air-ish type of range. After this player checks back the turn, the bluffing percentage won't be very high. So like bluff catching this hand is not super logical, I don't think. So this is the bet. There's the play. Okay, we're in another 3-bet pot. Big blind versus button. Big blind versus button, 3-bet pot. You guys are up. What do you guys want to do? Okay. I do think you start to get to like potentially some check on these boards. Like I think these like double Broadway boards, you start to see potentially some check strategy that's like more meaningful. Generally, I think you want to check the sets. I think bet a quarter is still also quite good. It is a rainbow texture, which involves less checking. So like, bet a quarter is probably good. This board probably does have bet half pot on it. But betting half pot doesn't usually correlate it's usually a value, like the larger sizes at these SPRs is usually value protection betting. So you're gonna see like pocket kings, king queen, maybe ace queen, etc. in the like larger half pot size. So that larger half pot size is not a high frequency play in my opinion. So then you're left with like a quarter or check, and I do think that the sets end up checking like quite a lot. And I think that the boards that bet the most for the big blind in big blind button 3-bet pots in this scenario are I think that your highest frequency bet boards will be like some variation of low flops or like high low boards, like king 5 deuce, queen 5 deuce, 7 5 3, etc. And that's because the big blind's 3-bet range is polar, so the big blind can 3-bet the top and the bottom, and the button has a difficult time actually interacting with the part of the range that's that far down. So I do think that this is a decent hand to check, and I would just check if I was playing this spot in game. So a lot of you guys wanted to bet a quarter pot. I think most of you, almost, not all of you. There's someone nailed check, right? Alfie nailed check. I think Wayne nailed check. Those are people like Loco Brasi nailed check. So there's some people that wanted to check, but yeah, this is not a situation I think you want to bet all the time. I think a lot of people over c-bet their sets in these situations for sure. I also think it's quite predictable that you're going to want to check the set. So here's 10s, here's queens. You don't have 3s. And I said the betting range, like when you bet half pot, would be more value protection oriented. So there's aces and kings with your larger bets. There's ace queen with your larger bets. There's king queen with your larger bets. There's queen jack with your larger bets. Okay, so you have almost a 50% check on this board, and that is even though you are able to bet as small as 10%. So even with 10% betting, you still have to check half the time. So this shows you the significance of the check. Is like, even when you can bet so small, you still have to check a lot. So checking is quite important. It's quite significant. It's quite reasonable. Quite good. You have to be capable of doing it. So you don't want to just be betting range here. You can see here this like kind of polarized 3-bet component that I was talking about. A lot of this like shit over here as well. And you can see how this might manifest itself on a board like, well, we can just look at some of these queen high flops again. But we don't even have to look at these queen high flops. Actually, we can just go like this, and we can just pick all these boards. I don't care. All these boards here, and we'll go like this, and we'll go like this. Okay, well, this is actually like a lot of check percentage on these jack high ones. These ace high boards have a lot of bets. These queen high boards with fairly similar board textures to what I was just talking about have a lot of bets. King high boards with these like high low boards have a lot of bets. And it really doesn't bet a lot on these jack high boards. So these jack high boards involve a lot of check. Okay. And that's how I think about a lot of this. And then if you end up with over here, these boards, we can actually keep these cards the same. I'll just make these cards something like this. These boards have more check. Okay. So ace high boards end up being bet a lot. So like one rule of thumb, ace high boards are bet often times, but these are like the ace high low boards still, like or ace medium low boards. In these like high low, high mid boards, this is where there's like more of the check. High mid, lots of check on these high mid boards. High mid, high mid, high low. So when I'm seeing two of these high cards, right? We have a high low board here. When we have two of these high cards, this is not a board texture that you're just gonna be betting range on. You can just see it over and over and over again. If you have these like high low boards, these are not boards that you just go off on. Okay, so there we go. Okay, you guys are up. We check flop. What do we do on the turn? All right, I would probably check. Where is my EV? I'd rather bet quads. Okay, I'd rather bet quads. So if I ask myself the question, where is my EV coming from? It's coming from at this right. So like this player did not bet the flop. So what does that mean? That means they don't have a queen very often. Now it doesn't mean they never have a queen, but it means they're more likely to have a pair of tens, right? They're more likely to have a pair of tens, ace high. So in terms of like trying to get multiple streets, this hand blocks where my EV is coming from pretty badly. Because if I bet the turn and the river, of course, like a lot of my EV is going to, if I bet the turn and the river, a lot of my EV is going to come from the 10x region, right? So if this player does have a queen, they'll probably start betting now anyway. So I'm probably gonna check this hand. I'd prefer to bet something else. To be like, I'd rather bet a weaker hand, like kings, jacks. Jacks is the hand I'll have a lot. Rather bet that. Okay. Take a look at the betting percentage on jacks. There's jacks, bets a lot more. Okay, I think that makes sense. Okay, you guys are up. What do you want to do? Okay, I think checking is still quite reasonable. I think betting like 13 is quite reasonable. I think betting 7.5 is quite reasonable. I'm not a big fan of these other answers. I don't like jamming because I think jamming suffers from the same problem you had before, which is that you block where a lot of EV is probably going to come from. I think that 10x probably makes up like a relatively significant fraction of what calls the river when you jam. So I don't like jamming. Maybe it's a 7x, but I just doubt it. So I think 10x is still quite significant here. So I don't like jamming. I don't like these answers. Kind of for the same reason I don't like jamming. That leaves like bet 13 and bet 7. I don't like betting 2. So yeah, that leaves 13 and 7.5. I think these are like both reasonable. And then that leaves checking. I think checking's decent too. So I don't know, I'll probably go like this in game. So bet 13 is the highest frequency played answer, so that's good. But you can see like there's like a process of elimination. I actually didn't like check. So there's a process of elimination that goes on, which is what I'm trying to do. Like I'm like, yeah, these bet sizes are too big. These ones suck. This one's actually not that bad. I thought this one would be better than it was, and I thought check would be better than it was. But yeah, this was like the answer that I liked the most. The other thing is like when you bet to this size, I don't think that your opponent's range gets really down to 10x, even though you're betting somewhat larger. Your opponent's range is weak enough that I don't think that the 10 is going to be such a significant fraction of their defending range when you bet like this. If you jam, that's not true, because if you jam, the range gets more and more narrow. But when you bet this small, which is still quite large, like 59%, but when you bet like to this size, I think that you're going to be looked up by a lot of hands that aren't actually a pair of 10s. So here, when we bet 13, you can see here like these are the pair of 10s, but you can see that you're also getting purely called, 0% folding from pocket 9s, pocket 8s, 8-7, 7-6, a little bit of 6s, a little bit of 5s, pure call from pocket 4s when they have it. You're getting called by ace 9, ace 7, king 7, ace jack high, ace 9 high. Okay, so this is kind of my point. Whereas if you jammed, which someone had mentioned, if you jam, you're going to destroy a lot of these hero calls, and now you can see the significance of the 10. Okay, and like this pocket 7s block doesn't matter, because no matter what you do, you're going to get value from this pocket 7s. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you bet small, block, check, doesn't matter. The pocket 7s hand is going to get the money in. So this hand you can ignore. So all we're interested in is these hands that aren't this hand, right? We're not interested in the nuts essentially. So if you look at this block, you can see how significant in this fraction of hands the 10 is. Like the 10 is just, it's a terrible set of blockers to have if you're going to jam. But it's not such a terrible set of blockers if you're going to bet 59%. Okay, and so that's kind of the exercise that we're going through. It's a meaningful part of the exercise. Okay, so we don't have stack depths on, so this is a single raise pot, relatively short. You guys are up. What do you guys want to do? Okay, I'd probably lead this range for this board for 1.8. I'd probably lead even smaller in game. I'd probably lead like for 1 or 1.5. Oh, I can lead for 1.1. Okay, I'd probably lead like this. I'd probably bet 1.1. I don't know why. I just didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired. I didn't see this bet size. So yeah, I'd probably lead for 1.1. That'd probably be my play. I think checking's good too. Yeah. Damn. No leading. Would we just lead jam? Yeah, that sucks. I wouldn't have gotten this. So, I mean, it's cool, but I wouldn't have done it. So, I fucked this one up. There we go. There's always, I did think checking was good too, but I like leading. But turns out that that's shit. So, yeah, there we go. I call. It's not very, that's not very debatable. So, let me keep going. I'm sure some people want to see like what he's supposed to jam. It's probably 8x, 7x, 9s. So 8x, ace king, 7x. Okay, so that's like a pretty intuitive way to do it. Ace king's like the less intuitive way to do it, but it's not the highest frequency component, so it's fine. Single raise pot again, big blind button, 18 bigs. We're gonna check the flop with the bottom pair here. Pretty standard on ace high board. Some people might want to raise or something, but you guys are up. What do you guys want to do? Yeah, I'm just gonna call. So I just thought I'd ask. You guys are up again. What do you want to do? Yeah, I keep checking myself. All right, you're up. What do you guys want to do? I'd probably call. Kind of hate it, but I'd probably call anyway. I would fold, you know, a lot of other stuff. So I think I'd fold like 9-6. I think I'd fold 9-6. I think I'd fold 10-6, Jack-6. I think this beats all that shit, so I'd probably call it this, but I'd fold a bunch of other stuff. I think call is worth more than 0.01. Call is worth almost 80 big blinds per. No, sorry, it's worth almost 60. We're 60 big blinds per 100 here. Worth 60 plus big blinds per 100. It's not worth 0.01. Nice try though. It's just a disastrous fold. I call a spade a spade. If it was close, I'd say it was close. It's not close. It's a fucking disaster to fold. So this hand's pure call, and that's because you fold all these ones. You can fold 10-6 and 9-6. These are all worth 0. See, these are it's like this is not that hard of an exercise, guys. Like your opponent's not value betting a pair of 6s, right? Your opponent's not value betting a pair of 6s. So what does it mean if your opponent's not value betting a pair of 6s? It means that fundamentally a pair of 4s and a pair of 6s are very similar in EV. They're gonna be a little bit different because a pair of 6s needs less protection, I suppose. But if your opponent's not value betting a pair of 6s, there's not a meaningful EV difference between a pair of 4s and a pair of 6s. They are very comparable. So if a pair of 4s and a pair of 6s are very comparable, the ones with the gut shot are going to beat the other ones, right? So 4-3 is going to be better than 9-6, 10-6, Jack-6. That's why I specifically said I'd fold those ones, call it this one. So let's go. Okay, it's a single raise pot again. 100 bigs. This is a good exercise. I like this exercise. You guys are up. What do you guys want to do? Like, I like how it's like, you know, a little bit chaotic. Kind of like playing a tournament. But it's like the most important positions only. Okay. So I think that check is going to be, like, in this model, very good. It's probably less good in game. I've done almost 80 database analysis sessions. So I didn't even, this was just a fortunate byproduct of this exercise. I've seen a lot of databases, and I've seen the way that people check when they're, like, that this board involves checking, but I think a lot of people don't know that. When people check and they're not supposed to check, they just have medium strength hands. Like, I've done so much database analysis in the last, I've done, like, legitimately 80 of them. When people check and they're not supposed to check, they have medium strength hands. They don't have traps. So, they're supposed to check here, but this range is going to be less dense ace-x, especially in game. Like, in game, this guy, like, a lot of people just fuck this up. They'll look at this board and think it's a range bet when it's not. So, if I was in game, I would just be betting. I think this range is like way too dense king X. And yeah, I think this model is going to probably check this hand a lot, but I do think that I think predictably this model is going to check this hand a lot, particularly with the ace of hearts in your hand. But I think that in game I'd probably just bet. And yeah, you can see that it actually really likes overbetting massive. So there's two answers. It's like blast at it or don't. So I mean, like, I think that there's like a fairly reasonable distribution of like ace x and king x in this block of hands, And in game, I think that it's going to just be disproportionately represented by like the King X block, as opposed to this Ace X block. So I'd basically just expect a more significant concentration over here and a less significant concentration over here. And if I do that, I'm going to be betting more. So I have to run. I have the 7 a.m. coaching session to do right now. Just a reminder, guys, for those of you that are just brand new, or sorry, just back from the break with us, we have started working with Turbo Kings. Turbo Kings has been integrated into BBZ Poker. As a result, we have one more seminar per week. So the BBZ daily seminars, we now have 9 sessions per week instead of 8. So there are more sessions going on. BFiz is one of our coaches. We have Bowie Effect coaching this Thursday in the seminars. I'm super excited for that because he's a killer. He just won, I think, 800,000 or 900,000 in December. He's actually someone that I've spoken with about poker in the past. At a live stop, we talked quite a bit. He's a super smart guy, has a very technical approach to No Limit. Well, one of the poker players I think you want to learn from the most in 2023. So he's going to be joining the seminars. And we've got other coaches lined up to come in as well. So it's the best time to join the seminars it's ever been, for sure. We got the most content. We got new coaches. So it's the new year. And I look forward to seeing some of you guys there. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.